I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him bears much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. John 15:5. As I read and thought about these verses, memories of a friend's vineyard came to mind. She and her husband bought a home with a small vineyard on it, and I've been able to walk with her among the vines at different seasons of the year. This week, we were painting through another one of Jesus' I am statements in the Gospel of John and thinking about these words, I am the vine, you are the branches. One of the things I love about painting through a verse is that it allows the words just to go deep in my heart and mind. It quiets the internal chatter and allows me just to be with Jesus, to talk with him, to think deeply. Grape leaves are a little wily to paint, and I wrestled with them. We sketched them first, but I don't get bothered if they don't look quite right. The goal is not that we create amazing art, but we're with Jesus, in the quiet, painting and creating, resting in him and with him. I hope this time encourages your heart. Hi everyone, well welcome back. We are going through, we're going to do a paint with me session, painting from the book of John, which I had started right before Easter, and I wanted to just do a few more. And then hopefully this encourages you wherever you are painting. You can use this as part of your devotionals, or if you just love, to paint through a certain section of scripture, paint with me, and then paint on your own as well. But we are painting today from John 15, when Jesus says, I am the vine. In the last session, it was a couple of weeks ago, we painted, we did I'm the gate and the light. And so anyways, I love this part of John 15. It's always been one of my favorite chapters, and I was really enjoying learning how to paint and sketch out a bit of a vineyard. I was thinking of maybe doing a vine with flowers on it, but I thought, what, let's go ahead, let's paint some grapes, let's paint the vine. What we're going to do today, if you want to sketch with me really quick, I was playing with the composition, and the interesting thing with, let me make sure, there's my pen. The interesting thing with grapevines and their leaves is they're big, huge leaves. They kind of reminded me of like a maple leaf. And so if you wanted to do a little bit of sketching with me real quick before we sketch out our picture together, please feel free. If you want to grab a picture, it's interesting. A lot of the leaves, they kind of almost look like a heart. Let me bring this in so you can see this closer, with this almost loop in the middle, and then it kind of goes around kind of like this. We have a point at the end, we kind of have a point over here, but the points don't come out really far from each other. And then we have, again, we usually have a stem back here. We actually might get it a little bit closer up here. We have the lines going out into each one of the leaves, or like kind of almost the star. And so you'll see this on them. There's about 5 little points. And so as I was making these, I also realized that on the grapevine, you maybe see 1 or 2 perfectly, but what ends up happening is you have a lot of leaves that are just kind of all hidden behind each other, right? And so you have them over here, and you have another one here, and there's this one, and we've got a stem coming out here. And so we're gonna layer, and then plus we have the branches. And so we have branches coming out everywhere, and there's branches over here, and we'll talk about that a little bit. So as we start to sketch, I just want you to not be, just remember that we are only gonna do a couple of leaves, like full on leaves, and they're complete, where you can see them completely. A lot of them are gonna be hidden together. So you're going to end up, and I have not done my pen, I'll do that pen part with you on this one. We're going to have a lot of leaves, we have the grapes, and then we have the vine, and it's a nice thick vine. So you can see in my sketch over here, we had, I made it it looks actually a lot of crevices. This vine that I've been sketching a picture from must have been quite old, because it looked like it was old and thick. And so let's paint that. Let's go ahead and sketch this, and then we'll start painting. So we're going to just do a quick sketch. Remember, our goal is going to be to paint within about 20 minutes. This one might take just a little bit longer. You could certainly turn your paper either way. I am going to do this one vertically, and I'm going to start. Let me pull this back just a little bit. I want to start, and I'm going to have my vine go about a third of the way up, and I'm actually going to start. So my first line, I did it in the middle, and then I'm going to go to the left And then I'm going to do I have a bit of a curve here coming off this side. And I have one end coming up on this way, and then another end coming up like this. And of course, use your pencil. I'm using the pen so you can see this a little bit better. I am not going to put a lot of detail work with the pen right now. I can come back and do that later. What I am going to do though is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start by adding in a couple of branches up here. And then as we start painting, we'll do some talking about the subject. And then I'm going to do a branch over here. I'm just going to kind of, you can see, I'm going to kind of start sketching around them. I've got a branch up here. And then we're going to do one leaf, and I'm going to have one leaf kind of the main, one leaf over here. So once again, I have like this interesting, it's like almost a keyhole at the top where they loop up, and then it comes out, and kind of like a heart, but not really, or a maple leaf. And I'm just going to sketch my leaf out, and I'm not going to do all the angles. And I'm going to go over this branch, and that's fine. I'm not too bothered by that. And we'll end up, I will do some of my just the detail work right in here. And I'm going to leave that alone. So that's going to be one of my anchor. I'm going to have a couple of anchor leaves, but now I'm going to actually I'm going to go ahead and start with the grapes. So I'm going to have 3 grape branches. Let me make sure you can see them coming closer. I'm going to have them at different angles and different levels. So just for the sake of composition, I'm going to make these fairly big, and I'm just sketching out a nice big grape bunch. And then of course we're going to attach a branch to it, right? So it's going to be a little bit thicker at the top and thinner as we come down, and I'm going to have a branch right here coming off of this one. And then let's go ahead right up here under this leaf, and we're going to do another bunch of grapes. I'm going to actually have this one coming right up to the leaf, and maybe I'm going to have this branch just sticking right there, and once again kind of thicker off to the side. When I was little, and we had grapes, they were against the fence, and they were not grapes you could eat. I remember trying one. They were super, super bitter, and they just went, they just grew along the fence on the side of the yard, and they were so unruly. Okay, let's do another one. I'm actually going to go a little bit lower over here, right here. And the vines were so thick. The branches we could just snap off, but the vines took an effort to move and to cut if we wanted to cut them. And so sometimes we would go weeding in the backyard and pushing the vines aside and then just picking up all the branches that were dead. And it was really interesting when you pruned them, there was definitely more grapes that we would find hidden back behind the branches. But again, they weren't edible grapes. A friend of mine has a hobby farm, and she has a vineyard on her hobby farm, and it is absolutely beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Okay, let's put a little branch right here. And I love going out and walking out in it. Okay, let's add in our leaves. So with our leaves, I am going to I'm going to start moving them around here. And again, think about the maple leaf, or like kind of like a heart. And then you have the leaves just coming, kind of hiding underneath. Think of that tip. And I am just moving another leaf over here. They're coming in everywhere. They're definitely going to be coming in and off the page as well. I have one over here that's hiding. I don't know, I find that grape leaves are really interesting, and they're big. They're very big, so we want to make sure we keep them quite large. And they're a little bit, they're a little bit difficult, more challenging to sketch. Okay, making sure you can see this good. I'm going to move it up here. Usually I don't always sketch the YouTube, but I thought this one, it might just be helpful if we sketch this out together. I'm going to do a couple more branches over here and another branch over here. And I get then moving this branch, I'm going to have another branch here where I'm going to have just a little leaf coming out behind this grape. And feel free to not be excessive about the detail. We really want to just get to our painting, and this is a watercolor sketch. We're not trying to do the next amazing art of Napa Valley, right? So we're getting, and it looks like a mess because that's fine. We're just getting the sketch on, and then we're going to be able to get our paint. And with the colors on, it's going to all come together. So I've got my leaves here. I'm just going to put one hiding under here. And I'm going to have another one, another branch coming out. Make sure you've got a good amount of branches here. Okay. I've got the branches coming over here. I've got another branch here, and I'll have another leaf hiding over here. Okay. Okay. And if you want to do the little jagged edges, you certainly can. Now our vine needs to come up a little bit taller, right? So I'm going to just bring that vine up now that I know where it's going. And I'm going to have it coming up over here as well. And then I'm going to have, do I want another leaf? I'll have another leaf coming out, right, kind of hiding this branch right over here, hiding part of the vine. Okay, so now that we have all that done, this is great. Grab your paints if you don't have them already. Grab some clean water, and then we're going to start painting our vine. If you want to go over this with your micron pen, and then it will be a little bit of a cleaner painting, or you can wait till the end and then paint and then sketch in the micron pen with me like I'm going to do with this one right here. Okay, grab your paints. I'm going to move a few things around on the table. Okay, I had done a couple of these. Most of them I was not thrilled with, and that's okay. Sometimes it's the process that helps us to not only get better at painting, but also, let me grab the right paintbrush here, to just linger a little bit over our subject matter. Okay, let's go ahead and start with our branch. If you pull up a vine on Pinterest, if you don't have one near you, or a picture on your phone, for example, the vines are pretty gnarly. They are pretty weathered and frayed. A lot of them are pretty dark as well, almost like grayish. And so I'm mixing some black, some Payne's gray actually, with a little bit of gray umber. And I'm going to just start painting, coming closer and backing this up so you can see that. This vine right here. Okay, we're just going to kind of go over here. I'm going to leave some white spaces, and I'm even going to almost pick up some more paint here. Raw umber and the black. And I'm going to keep it where almost it looks like there's some texture there. I'm going to definitely go around where it looked like there was almost a knob on this part of the vine in this particular picture I was using. So Jesus was speaking to a group of people. It was an agrarian, if I'm saying that right, agrarian society, lots of farmers. But I don't think the concept is lost on us today of what he was trying to teach when he talked about he was the vine and we were the branches. The vine, of course, is where all the nutrients come through. It's the life source for the vine. Without the vine, the branches have nothing. What's interesting, too, is that you can have some of those branches do end up falling off or dying, and of course they can't produce fruit. I think it's fascinating, too, where Jesus says in that he talks about pruning, and if you are connected to him, he is going to prune you so that you'll bear more fruit. And I can't remember where I read it, but I was reading where grapes, if they don't get pruned properly, they won't bear any grapes. The grapes will not grow. They'll just be all leafy and no fruit, which would really be a bummer. I know my friend who has the hobby farm, and they just happened to buy this property that had this really beautiful vineyard, and I mean, it's on a hill. It's so, so pretty. And every year they sell all their grapes to a winery or a couple different wineries, just depending on the year, and all those grapes get carted off to, make wine. Okay, let's go up. And I think they have someone come in and do the pruning for them, I think, but they're very well kept vines, and that's always interesting to me because the vines are all on the trellises and they're all in a row and they're very, very orderly. and yet they're very thick as well. There's lots of grapes that are just hanging everywhere. So on my branches, I'm going to start with this darker color that I have, and then I'm going to add some brown to it. So we have a dark brown color, brown branch color. One of the reasons I like to paint through a certain section of scripture on my own, whether it's a psalm or now we're painting through John, is it allows me to slow down and think about what the scripture is saying, what that part of the Bible is saying, that what Jesus, for example, is perhaps trying to teach here. And when I am just reading it, that is great. But sometimes I know I have a tendency to go quickly and not really linger. And something like John 15 is a passage that you do want to linger. I would say all of the I am statements that Jesus uses, there was a reason John used, you captured all of those in his gospel. And so just to linger with each one, that can be hard to do just staring at a page, but to engage with some painting like this and paint it out. And the painting's not great. I don't paint a lot of vines or vineyards. And so this was, for me, I wanted to do this. I wanted to even stay true to the concept. I thought about doing some sort of floral vine, which I think would have been perhaps something I definitely was more familiar with. But that would have also kind of removed me right from the example Jesus was using. And so it kind of got me also hunting around a little bit of looking up some facts about vines and about the branches. I thought it was interesting that vines are very, very hardy. They can last a very long time. I think the oldest one I read is about 400 years old. It's somewhere in Europe. And so, of course, they don't say that the branches last for 400. It's the vine. The vine is the source of all the life and all the richness. And of course, if you are removed from the vine, if the branches remove the vine, it can't do anything on its own. We have to stay connected, just like Jesus is that theme of union with him that he talks about continually within the book of John, especially in John's chapter 14, 15, 16, when he's having those last precious times with his disciples. Okay, so let's pause here for a minute. We've got a lot of brown down. And so what I want to do, I back off for a minute. A lot of times I'll look around and go, okay, I have another branch here that I forgot about. So you can even back up. I like to do that, making sure we have our branches, and of course we can always come back to them. And now let's go ahead and paint our grapes. Now, the interesting thing, when I was looking at grapes, a lot of the grapes that I saw were almost like a blue purple. They were not just I was going to use a dioxazine purple, but that was not quite correct. So I'm going to grab my dioxazine and then mix it with a little bit of ultramarine blue, almost where it's kind of a slightly darker than a blueberry, so it's a bit richer. And I'm going to go ahead and with my grapes, we are just going to go around. And if you even, in fact, I'm going to grab a smaller brush. Grab a smaller brush. I was using, I think that was a 6. If you have like a 4 or even a 2, you don't have to, but it's going to help you not fill in the entire grape, because what you want to do, let me come closer here. What you want to do with the grapes is you want to think of them almost like little marbles, and where the marbles have that shine, really a shine to them, especially in the light, you can see them kind of glistening, and we want to leave some white on these so it looks like they are not just a blob of purple, but we have some glistening going on. So I'm just going to just very carefully move through these. And if I was doing this by myself, if this was part of a devotional, I might listen. Sometimes I've recently started listening to the Bible on tape, and I might listen to this I have a Bible on the Audible, but I think there's all sorts of ways you can access an Audible Bible. You might read a portion and then just sit with it. Even say the words out loud, just on repeat. And just thinking too, I wonder if Jesus, I imagine he was in a vineyard where he was teaching. Maybe he even plucked off grapes from the vine to show them. It was definitely probably an example they all got. Okay,
All right. Let's keep on going to the next one over here. Always interesting to me that Jesus points out that if we don't abide with him, the branches that don't abide in him are simply thrown away. They're just tossed. But the ones that do abide in him are pruned so that they're going to bear more fruit. And whenever I hear the word pruning, I'm not like terribly excited, because usually when I think about pruning, I think about, well, letting go of things, getting rid of something, even, a discipline of some sort. However, pruning is one of the most life-giving things that can happen to a vine. So it basically determines more fruit. And I love the fact that Jesus says, he says that we're all supposed to be bearing fruit. There's supposed to be good results coming from our lives. And then he connects that to joy as well.
Okay, so you can see in here, just to point this out, I have a lot of white. And if your paint got a little bit thick, not a big deal, because you can just take a dry brush and you could just dab it up. If you were like me and I even think, okay, I need to actually get a little bit more paint, I'm just going to come back in and just dot. You'll notice too with a lot of these, the Paint With Me, we're doing a lot of dabbing and using the colors and the shapes to create these really lovely pictures. I love that it doesn't take a lot of time to create lovely art. Again, we're not trying to sell it or put it up on a display. It may not go anywhere in public, but this 6 by 9 is a perfect size to tuck into your Bible or a journal. And for sure, I'm going to use this to do some reflection, and I can put some notes on it. I can write the verse out. I don't know if you like to memorize scripture. I do, but then I realize I've forgotten it, so then I need to re-memorize it. The ones I remember the most are the ones that my mom had me memorize when I was little. And those have just like been ingrained into my heart and mind and soul. Just a really good reason to encourage kids to memorize when they're small. It really does sink in deep. But John 15, I had memorized some years ago, and I'd like to memorize it again. At least the verses where Jesus is talking about this, because it is so rich. Okay. And I love too when he says, I'm going to just read it so I don't mess it up. When he talks about joy, it's verse 11. These things I've spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full. And who doesn't want more joy in their life? I am all about joy, that calm delight. There's a joy that supersedes happiness, right? And that comes when, I love the fact that he connects it with becoming fruitful, being a fruitful vine. All fruit, we don't want leafy lives, we want fruitful lives. Okay, let's paint our leaves. So let's grab some green. Now, I'm actually going to if you have some yellow, I want you to get some yellow first. On the leaves below, we're going to dab in some yellow. Let me make sure you can see that good. This is a lemon yellow, but if you have a cadmium yellow, that's going to be fine. Just a little bit on the lower leaves, because we are picturing too that the sun is setting and that it is going to capture and shine through some of our leaves and just showing up. And what it's basically showing them lighter green. So I'm now going to take a green and just blend it with my yellow and let it dance there on the page. It's wet enough to dance, but not to get crazy. And that's a permanent green that I have right there. I also have a hooker's green. You do not need to use multiple greens, because that yellow is going to create other greens, but just so you can see what it looks like. And I was looking at the pictures of grape leaves, and definitely it's a cooler green. So I'm going to stay away from the sap green, but if you only have sap green, go ahead and use it. It will be fine. Add some yellow to it. That'll also, especially the lemon yellow, that will cool it up a little bit. So I'm going to go to our big leaf here. That was kind of the star of the show. And just moving around. I'm going to just kind of keep him a little bit watery, and then I'm going to tap in some paint and just let that dance. When we have multiple colors, it really helps the painting to pop a bit. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead, let's move on this leaf over here on the other side of the grapes. Being careful, I'm going to just be carefully paint around the grapes. And this one down here as well. And I'll put a little bit of yellow in this one too. Okay, and we're just moving around, and I know this is a little bit of a departure. I do not think I have painted grapevines on with YouTube before. It's again not something I paint a lot, but it's also fun to try something new, to paint different leaves. It's once again enforcing the incredible variety. If you've painted with me, you've heard me say this probably way too many times, but every flower, every different plant has their distinguishing characteristics, and they're all different. The leaves are different, the petals are different, the fruit is different in this case, the vine is different on from the grapevine versus a watermelon vine or a different fruit vine. It's incredible the amount of variety in the natural world. I'm always in awe, and painting and sketching really helps me to become observant. And I find that it goes both ways. As I become more observant, I become more in awe, and that childlike wonder of all the variety. And then as I have more wonder, I get more curious, and so then I observe more, and it kind of goes around and around and around, and you discover that there's really no end to it. There's no end to the wonder of creation and all that God has given us in this beautiful world that we get to inhabit. And there is no end to studying His Word for that matter either, and discovering new truths. And so that's why we can come back to something like John 15 over and over and over, and these beautiful concepts of Jesus saying, I am the vine, and really think about that and pray through that and think about what He says. If my words remain in you, if you are in me and I am in you, that beautiful analogy of union with Christ that He talks about and really emphasizes. And then to go out and look at a vineyard and walk through it with a new sense of appreciation for what Jesus was talking about. I think it's fascinating that vineyards can last for so long. And I think I was reading too, there's like 400 types. That's probably wrong. Don't quote me on that. I know nothing about vineyards and growing wine. I just have had the joy of walking through a couple of vineyards that friends have had. Okay, let's come back through here and let's look at our leaves. This looks good. Oh, I have another leaf hiding back here. And if you want to as well, add in some more leaves where you think to yourself, it's a little sparse, I want another leaf over here. And I'm going to add one here. We're not really seeing many full leaves. What we are seeing is the leaves hiding on top of each other, really. Okay, now for the bottom, we have a couple of things we could do. Let me see where we are time-wise. Wow, 27. Okay, so this is taking a little bit longer. I thought it would with the sketching, but I hope you're enjoying this as well. You can do a couple of things now. You could leave this completely white, and you could either write in John 15 if you wanted to, or you could add in your own prayer or reflection. You can do a little bit of sketching. What I'm going to do, where I can still write in if I want to, is I am going to almost pretend like I'm taking a picture of this vine close up, and I've used the portrait mode, and so everything in the back is a blur. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my brown, and almost as we have just like a path perhaps, and I am just going to take, actually let me grab the larger brush, and really soft, again, as if we're thinking portrait mode, which I do love portrait mode for these kind of things, right? And then maybe we have some grass or some green, and so I am just, again, going to blend in some green. I'm actually going to take some more brown, as if maybe we have, another path, a little bit more green. and just keep it super soft. Again, it's all blurred. Maybe we have another vineyard back here, or we have bushes, and I'm going to kind of just let it weave around my grapes here, and then over here as well. Really soft, very soft. Just keep it very soft. If it comes on too dark, grab a soft cloth or paper towel and just soak it up. There we go. And that way it's not super just with stark white. I'm going to come back with my brown, and then I even have a little bit of like a brown yellow, and just for a little bit of contrast, a little bit darker right here, as if maybe this was a path. And a little bit over here. These are maybe these are vines far away. Okay, great. There we go. So there we have it. 30 minutes today, a little bit longer, but you can see too. I hope you enjoyed this. This was a little bit more of, especially since we did the sketching together, a little bit more of a detailed one. Again, this is one, if you didn't do the micron pen, it's